Hello everyone. Today I am going to be teaching you a poem. Like you all know that English is broadly divided into two categories, that is literature and poetry. And today we are going to learn about Lochinvar, written by Sir Walter Scott. Now before going ahead to this particular poem, I want you to understand what do you actually mean by poetry. Poetry is a type of literature that conveys a thought, tells a story in a concentrated lyrical arrangement of words. Poems can be structured with rhyming lines and meters. That means here poetry is concentrated. That means it is reduced. The essence is only taken and delivered with the message. There are about 101 types of poems. But whereas we see 7 common types of poems. What are they? They are blank verse, rhymed poetry, free verse, epics, sonnet, ballad and couplet. So this is a list of 7 regularly used poems which we need to understand what it means. The first one is the blank verse. The blank verse is comprised of unrhymed lines. So we generally see from the time we have started reading, so from the time we have started going to schools, we have been learning rhymes. So the best rhyme we can all remember is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and then we can remember Johnny Johnny Yes Papa. So all these are musical, which you remember the rhythm, the rhyme. But there are few poems that are not rhythmic. They are unrhymed lines. And these type of poems are called as blank verses. The next one is rhymed poetry. In contrast to the blank verse, rhymed poems rhyme by definition, although their scheme varies. The next one is free verse. Free verse poetry is a poetry that lacks a consistent rhyme scheme, metrical pattern or musical form. That means in the entire poem you can find rhythmic stanzas, you can find unrhythmic stanzas as well. The next one being epics. An epic poem is lengthy narrative work of poetry. The next one is a sonnet. A sonnet generally is a poem with 14 lines. The entire poem or the entire scenario is completed in 14 lines, typically but not exclusively concerning the topic of love. The next one is ballad. A ballad is a form of narrative verse that can be either poetic or musical. The next one is a couplet. A couplet is a pair of successive lines of verse, typically rhyming and of the same length. So couplet are two lines poem that we learn. So couplets we have it in Kannada as well. Couplets we have it in Hindi as well. In Kannada we call it as vachanas, and Hindi we call it as dohas. So like this we have different types and styles of poem. Going ahead with the poet Sir Walter Scott. He was an excellent storyteller both in prose and in verse. In this popular ballad, he tells us how in olden days brave young men in Scotland possessed the necessary dash and pluck to do extraordinary things. His narrative poems fascinate the reader by their gripping action, stirring measures and imaginative appeal. From this, we understand that this poem that we are going to be learning ahead is a ballad. A ballad is a story type of a poem where it is conveying a story about someone, and it is from a Scottish writer and a Scottish hero as well. This is Sir Walter Scott for you. This is how he looked. Before going ahead, let's learn the glossary, or let's learn the words when we need to understand something better, we need to understand the words. This poem especially is written in old form of English. English has enhanced over the years, and olden English is a little complicated. So we will have to understand the words first. Knight, a person granted an honorary title of knighthood by a head of state. A sentence construction for you. After he saved her life, Alex was her knight in shining armor. Armor, if you see in the picture, children, armor is something that a person is covered with. So generally when people go out for wars, they wear protective shields and armors and headgear and all that, so that they don't get hurt easily. And the next word is combat, fighting between armed forces. So in olden times it was quite common that there were kingdoms, and each kingdom wanted to be superior to the other in terms of prosperity, richness and the vastness as well. So they would have fighting between the other kingdoms, and that fighting with armed forces is known as combat. He was killed in combat during the Second World War. The next word is gallant, meaning brave or heroic. So it takes a lot of willpower and courage for one to become a soldier, and we all should be glad for our soldiers of India as well. So the sentence construction is, she had made gallant efforts to pull herself together after her mother's demise. So we all are heroes in life, but in one way or the other. Someone is struggling to make their daily living. Someone is struggling to make themselves competitive in the world. Someone is struggling to do best in their academics. So we all are struggling. So we are in one way heroic as well. The next word is dauntless, meaning showing fearlessness and determination. After months of dauntless determination, James is now on the last leg of hike. Like mountain climbing is not an easy thing, or trekking is not an easy task. So it needs a lot of energy and courage and willpower to do so. Few people have climbed up to the Mount Everest, and it's not been easy. Not easy for the reasons that climbing up is not the alone factor, but also the climatic condition, the food, the stay, everything becomes a challenge. So we have to be fearless and do our task with our determination. The next word is pursuit. Pursuit means the action of pursuing someone or something. The cat crouched in the grass in pursuit of a bird. That means aiming at the bird, it jumped into the grass. The next word is bridesmen. One who walks down the aisle in the bridal ceremony. The bridesmen looked handsome and elegant. So we have the female version as well here. Bridesmen are for the men who walk down the aisle. We also have bridesmaid. This is basically a European culture, and this poem is also about that culture itself. Feast. A large meal, typically a celebratory one. The three-course feast concluded with a grand ice cream bomb topped with sparklers. So we know that whenever we have festivals or marriage, any big occasion, we have a feast with so many variety of food items. The next word is defiant, bold disobedience. There was challenge and defiance in her gaze. That means someone is trying to say, no, I'm not going to do it. It is, this message is very clear through the expressions. The next word is maidens. An unmarried girl or a young girl is known as a maiden. Of course, he wouldn't know her maiden name was Sandra. So generally there is a culture across the world that there is a name for a girl before she gets married, and then there is a name after the marriage for the girl. The next word is goblet, meaning a drinking glass with a foot and a stem. You can see the picture and understand better. Sarah and Jackson were instructed to drink from the goblet. So this goblet is generally used for drinking wines, but these days a lot of colorful drinks we have, even if it is without alcohol, people use these kind of glasses. The next word is stature. Height of a person or reputation gained by ability or achievement. This was a race distinguished by lofty stature. So stature has two meanings, that is, one is the height and another is the position in the society. The next one is hypnotized. Hypnotized, often described as sleep-like state. The therapist hypnotized him and asked him questions about his traumatic experience in the war. The poem starts with the introduction of Lochinvar, who is a courageous knight and undeterred romantic. He is described as the dawning sun of the west. He came all through the wide border in the west, riding unarmed on his horse. So this is a story of a soldier who has achieved the title of knighthood. And he also is one who is dauntless, who is very courageous, and he has come across all the tough times and yet been a winner. He carried no weapons throughout his special journey, though he was well versed in engaging in armed combat. He is so faithful to the girl he loves and fearless at the same time. So here, though he can handle all the arms, the weapons, yet he comes unarmed. And he is coming back for the only reason that he wants to remain faithful to the girl he loves. Why is he coming back in such a hurry is what we are going to learn. In every war he fought for the country, he is known for being gallant and dauntless, and there has never been a knight so brave like Lochinvar. So every battle that he has faced in life, he has come out with victory. He has been very courageous, very gallant, and he is none other than Lochinvar. Now, the poet describes various feats and accomplishments of young Lochinvar. He never leaves any battle half fought. He is tireless in his pursuits of victory and glory. So here it is conveying a message that Lochinvar is very brave and courageous, and he does not have a character of being a coward where he will run off even though the opponent is having the chances to win, yet he will not turn his back from that battlefield. He swam through rivers like Esk, which is very deep and fast. The river had no shallow place where one can walk or drive. He is so courageous that he can not only fight with people or with the armed combat, he can also fight with the nature. Nature here means the river Esk, which is very deep, and yet he makes it through the river Esk. But his final and most difficult battle at the Netherby gate, where his beloved Ellen has agreed to marry another man who is not worthy of her beauty and grace. So here this is the battle where Ellen, whom he loves so dearly, is getting married to someone else, and that someone else is not even worthy of her beauty and grace. So he comes back rushing to have Ellen back in his life. Now he has arrived at the battle to win back his lost love. Ellen considers Lochinvar coward who left her behind in the war of love. She was heartbroken and disappointed by Lochinvar's passion for war over love. So here Ellen thinks that Lochinvar is a coward. Coward for not the reason that he cannot face anyone, for the reason that he did not stand by her when she needed him, and he has lost in the battle of love. So here he has come to prove himself that I am not a coward. And Ellen is also disappointed that he chose war over love. Lochinvar entered the Netherby hall so boldly that his presence sends a flutter among the bride's men and kinsmen, her brothers and all her relatives. The poor bridegroom did not utter a single word, and the bride's father, who was not pleased with Lochinvar's arrival, stood up. So here Lochinvar makes a bold entry. He comes like a knight itself even to the palace. And there, when everyone sees Lochinvar coming to the palace, they are in a state of shock. They are wondering, why has he come here when she is getting married to someone else? And everyone is stunned, and the father of the bride is not pleased, and he stands up with his hand gripping his sword and asked him whether he came here in peace or with an intention of war, or to dance at their bridal. So one of the important factors of European marriages are that they dance before the marriage. They have food, they have wine, and this is how their celebrations are done. So when the father of Ellen sees Lochinvar coming there, he will ask, what have you come here? What is your purpose of coming here? Gripping the sword in his hand, thinking that if he gives an answer which would not please the king, he would be killed right away. So he asks, have you come here in peace or in intention of war? Because for both I am ready. Or to dance at the bridal, or have you come here just to enjoy like the others have come here? Lochinvar was equally defiant and bold in his reply, and said that he had already given up on his pursuits of Ellen, but his rightful suit was denied. The king had previously rebuffed his marriage proposal. A love which was not encouraged would die soon. So here Lochinvar is also very courageous. He is not scared of anyone, and he also gives a reply back to the king saying, I had already, asked you for Ellen's hand in marriage for me, but you denied it. You did not go ahead with it. So it's okay. I am also going to forget the love of Ellen in my life. He had now come for a dance and to drink a cup of wine at the marriage feast. He also added, there are many suitable maidens in Scotland who are more beautiful and desirable than Ellen, who would gladly be his bride. So here Lochinvar says, don't worry, I've just come here for dance and a cup of wine, enjoy the marriage feast, and I shall be going back. And he also said that, don't you worry that your daughter is not the only girl that I have. There are many beautiful maidens in Scotland where they will be gladly ready for a marriage with me. Then comes Ellen. Ellen kissed the goblet and offered this glass of wine to Lochinvar. So she comes into picture now, and she kisses the glass and gives it to Lochinvar. He accepted it, drank the wine quickly. He threw the glass in anger and was annoyed by the fact that Ellen betrayed his love and is marrying another man. However, he offered her a final dance together. Ellen was filled with emotions and she kept blushing, unable to think clearly. So here Ellen is thinking that Lochinvar cheated by not giving her the priority in life and get married, and Lochinvar is thinking that Ellen cheated by getting married to another man. So here both are in a state of confusion. Offers him wine. He quickly drinks it and throws away the glass in anger. And then he says, can I do a final dance with you? Ellen is mixed with emotion. She doesn't know whether should I dance or should I not. And she's blushing. Whenever we are very happy, we blush, our skin all glows. So like that, she is also becoming very happy because here Lochinvar is asking for a dance, and yet she is in a state of confusion. Her eyes were awash with tears for the fact that she will be marrying another man, and losing him forever tugs at her heartstring. Lochinvar took one dance with Ellen after she blessed his wine. So here she is emotional, and so emotional that her eyes are filled with tears. Both Ellen and Lochinvar danced together, and Lochinvar's stature and strength complemented Ellen's poise and grace so well that the whole hall was sparked with starry presence. So here everyone is witnessing Ellen and Lochinvar dancing together, and they are made just for each other. They both match each other's stature and strength, poise and grace. Everyone is awestruck. When Ellen was dancing with him, her mother fretted, her father fumed at the sight, and the bridegroom stood there dangling, but they could not do anything to drive a wedge between the reunited lovers. So here both are dancing together, and both are completely lost into each other. So when everyone is watching Ellen and Lochinvar, mother of Ellen, she is scared, and father is getting very angry, and even the bridegroom could not do anything. He's just standing there, and no one could separate these reunited lovers. The bridesmaids were entranced by the perfect match, and there were soft cries of admiration as they feel that young, daring Lochinvar was a better match for Ellen. Lochinvar touched Ellen's hand softly and spoke a word in her ear. The bridesmen, the bridesmaids were all entranced that, they were lost in admiring the compatibility of Ellen and Lochinvar. And they was thinking that there can be no perfect match than Ellen and Lochinvar. Lochinvar now touches hand of Ellen, and he says a word in the ear of Ellen. So what does he say? It feels as if she was hypnotized by his love, and they walked steadily, reached the door of the hall, encountered the charger who stood there, and reached for Lochinvar's horse. He flung Ellen on the horse and rose to take the reins in his hands and loudly announced that he had taken Ellen along with him. So here, when Lochinvar spoke to Ellen in her ear, she felt like the way she was hypnotized. She was into the control of Lochinvar, and then they both plan to run away from the palace. They meet a charger at the gate, and they defeat them and quickly go up the horse and move away from there. He rode as hard as he could over the bank of river, bushes and mountains to get away from the chasing pack of Ellen's kinsmen. So they were riding as fast as they could possibly do, because they wanted to go away from the people who would be chasing them. All the associates of the Netherby clan, including Fosters, Fenwicks and Musgraves, mounted their horses and rode as fast as they could to arrest the fleeting couple, but the couple was never seen again in the region. So here there were different clans, and all these clans had come for Ellen's marriage. Now when Ellen ran away with Lochinvar, all of them united and they started the search of Ellen, but to their bad, they did not find Ellen or Lochinvar again in that region. A man so daring in love and so dauntless in war, and there is truly no one who would match him in terms of heroism, romanticism, gallantry and lion-heartedness. So here it is saying that Lochinvar not only gave importance to his professional life, that whatever he had committed for, but he also proved to be a hero in his personal life by keeping up his promise of marrying Ellen under any circumstances. Today in grammar section we will be learning about figures of speech. There are many in number, but today we are going to learn only a few figures of speech which we widely use. They are simile, hyperbole, alliteration, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia. So how can you remember them? Like you all know, we have a hygiene process. We all bathe every day. So one of the components that we use in the bathing process is using the shampoo. So shampoo you can remember to remember these commonly used figures of speech. Let me give you an example from the poem itself. The first one is, there was never a knight like the young Lochinvar. It is a simile. What is a simile now? A simile is a comparison. Like, she is as white as milk. So like that, even Lochinvar is compared to other knights who has not been so young and courageous like him. The next one is hyperbole. Hyperbole here means using exaggeration. For example, I am so hungry that I can eat a whole horse. So that's an exaggeration, no one can eat a whole horse. So in the same way, in the poem this is mentioned, through all the wide border, his steed was the best. So compared to all the wide borders around Scotland, he was considered the best. So we don't know whether he was the best because there is no comparison mentioned. Then the next one is alliteration. Alliteration is the similar sounds that we use in a line, and that we have taken from the poem is, that never a hall such a glariad did grace. The next one is a metaphor, and the comparison of metaphor is a direct comparison. Like in simile we said like milk, here he runs just as fast as the cheetah. So here we are doing a direct comparison. So in the poem here they have compared Lochinvar to the sun. The very first line of the poem, "Oh, young Lochinvar is come out of the west." So here they are saying that he is come out like a sun. The next one is personification. Personification means giving a life attributes to the lifeless things. And the line taken from the poem is, "Love swells like the Solway, but ebbs like its tide." So here they have given an emotional factor of a human being to the water, that it swells and ebbs like a tide. The next one is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia here means, when we talk, we use sounds like, the cat came meow meow. That is onomatopoeia. She looked down to blush and she looks up, sigh. She's not saying anything but that deep sigh. Oh my Lochinvar. So that sigh is onomatopoeia. The home assignment, children, you will have to describe the qualities of Lochinvar mentioned in the poem. And the next one is, how did Lochinvar finally win Ellen for himself? And the next one is, this is something for you to think and write. It is called as the creative writing. What you have to do is, what is heroism as per you? So for different people, it is a different understanding of heroic nature, heroism. And you have to write how they have influenced you. For few of them, soldiers can be heroes. For few of them, people who are physically challenged, yet they have achieved so much in life, they might be heroes. So like that, you have to pick and choose one of the person who you think is a true hero and write how they have influenced. With this, I end my session here. Hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.